Good morning. Welcome back to another edition of Free Exchange of Ideas. It's Tuesday, January 18. I'm sorry, Wednesday, January 18. I took Martin Luther King Day off, and then I took Tuesday off because I really wanted to sit and think about what Martin Luther King Jr. means to me. Not as a white guy, not as a guy who grew up in a suburb, but just as a human being, what he meant to me, to a lot of my friends, and I think who he is now, as opposed to when he was preaching and reaching out and marching and doing all of those things that made life better for all of us. I was born and raised in California. I don't think I've ever lived outside of the military. I've never lived anyplace else. Pardon me. But in California, I was born in the 60s, so I'm old. But in California, we didn't really have at least during my growing up period, we didn't really have it's certainly not the level of abuse and racism that you saw, especially back east in the South, in the Midwest. For whatever reason, we were a pretty progressive state, and we were already fully integrated by the time that I became a student in first grade, kindergarten or whatever. You know, it just didn't occur to me that my friend Don was black and I was white, or my friend James was Asian. It's just the way I was raised. It's the way we grew up. We all grew up together. I grew up with Hispanic kids, black kids, Asian kids, white kids. We were just all kids. We were just all humans. And Donovan and I, if you go back and look at some of our older videos, you'll notice Donovan and I are on the same page there completely. There is, in our opinion, there is only one race. It is the human race. There are other ethnicities, but the ethnic thing is not a difference to be exploited, at least in our opinion, because our hearts are all in the same place, our gallbladders are all in the same place. I'm not positive that that's where it's at, but you understand what I'm saying. 2 eyes, nose, mouth, 2 ears, 5 hole. You understand. We're all literally the same, except for pigmentation and maybe a little bit of an eye fold. Pardon me. But physiologically, we're identical. So, in thinking back to what Martin Luther King was to his followers, what he was to people who believed the same philosophy, he's a pillar. He is someone that, as a Christian, believed wholeheartedly in the word of Christ. Believed wholeheartedly in the Constitution. And believed wholeheartedly that he was being discriminated against. His race, his ethnicity was being discriminated against as a whole. And he saw the flaw. And he pointed it out. People with power don't like when you point out their flaws. And it cost him his life. I truly wish it had not. I think he could have gone so much further had he lived. I think he could have done so much more as a working, striving human being than as a martyr. Not to take away from what occurred when they made him a martyr. And I fully believe that that was a government order. I think that came straight out of J. Edgar Hoover's FBI. I don't think the president or his cabinet had anything to do with it outside of the FBI. But that's my own conspiracy theory, for what that's worth. Martin Luther King, to me, is one of my human heroes. I say human because God and Christ are my first two heroes. Samson is a hero. Paul is a hero. But Samson, Paul, John, they're all human heroes. Following in the footsteps and the words of Christ, but nonetheless human. I believe Martin Luther King is right up there with those guys. I truly believe he was working not for himself, but for his fellow man. And there is no greater sacrifice than to give your life for your brother. That's in the Bible. I believe that wholeheartedly. Which is why one of the things that I do on a fairly regular basis is help as many veterans as I can. Whether if it's just listening or supporting a cause, doing push-ups for November, which is Veterans Recognition Month. Veterans Day is in November. I'm probably not going to give my life. Because honestly, there's only 3 people I would do that for, and they're all related to me. I love other people, but if I don't have to, I probably won't sacrifice myself. 4 people, sorry. My mother-in-law, because she's the only one that's loved me that much and not been related to me. My wife, my daughter, my granddaughter. I think Martin Luther King would have willingly given his life to support any of his followers, any human being. I think I don't think he did it intentionally. I mean, I don't think he would have done it intentionally in that dying the way he died. But I believe he would have sacrificed whatever to make sure his fellow man survived. And that's why he's one of my heroes. I think that's really all I have to say. I think he was a great man. I think he's a great martyr. I think the cause... I just heard his wife, his widow, speak on his birthday. And I mean, yeah, on the date of his birth, Sunday. I believe it was at church. And she talked about pretty much everything that he spoke about. She carries his torch every day. She's an impressive individual. If you get a chance, look up some of her speeches. She's all right. Thanks a lot for listening. I appreciate that. I hope that some of you, most of you, feel the way that I feel, and that we can do better, because that's what he expected. Thanks for listening. Y'all have a great day. Live long, fight hard, win the day. See ya!